All right, welcome to another episode of Why This Beer. Join us as we discuss all the things that make our craft beer scene unique and the people that help sculpt these great brews. I'm Aslan Graves of Main Street Brewing, and as always, joined by Darren Binema, Neighborhood Brewing and Yellow Dog Penticton.
Hello, everybody.
And today we got a special guest. We've got Jeremy Taylor, founder and head brewer of Crows Brewing in Halifax, Nova Scotia, known for outstanding lagers, innovative mixed ferm beers, and a true East Coast terroir by highlighting 100% Atlantic Canadian ingredients in many of their beers. But Jeremy doesn't just brew the beer, he is also involved on the ingredients side, recently with Shoreline Malting. And so, welcome, Jeremy.
Thanks so much. Yeah, I'm excited to be part of this.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
We're taking it coast to coast this time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, Jeremy, we usually like to start this off just with telling us a little bit about your history in craft beer. What got you started?
Okay. I have it kind of depends on how long of a journey you want to go on, but
I love hearing about Dan's homebrew.
That was a big part of it. 14 years ago or so, I was working at the BC Centre for Excellence in HIV and AIDS, doing genetic sequencing work. I was a lab rat, basically. Really enjoyed the work I was doing, but kind of realized I didn't want to be a lab rat for the rest of my life. And in order to kind of advance within that field of things, I had to be a lot smarter, a lot more driven than I am. And at the time, I've always enjoyed cooking and playing with flavors and baking, and had done that since my kind of early teens. And my partner, who's now my wife, got me a really simple Dan's homebrewing bucket, basically, as a birthday gift one year, and that really kind of opened up my eyes to a potential future career that you get to geek out on the science behind it all, which I love science. I've got a science background and working in a lab, but then get to play about with flavors and have the artistic side of things, and then at the end of the process, you get a beer. So what's not to love, right?
Yeah.
Do you remember which Dan's recipe you started with?
I did one. I think it was one partial mash, like extract plus mash was my very first thing, and I couldn't tell you which one it was. And then I went straight for the all grain after that, and I was just I think I started tinkering probably on batch like 3 or 4. I'm like, it says use these hops, but I want to see what this hop is about. And I went through the gamut of everything, 0 temperature control, and at the time I thought it was the best stuff in the world. I'm sure it was hot garbage, but my friends enjoyed drinking it, and but I was a little bit older at the time too, and I had a decent job with benefits and decent hours and stuff like that. So the idea of the thought of giving that up and starting at a brewery, cleaning kegs or mopping the floor or whatever, and trying to work my way up seemed like too much of a backwards step or too much to give up anyway. So I decided to go back to school to get a brewing education, to kind of give myself a leg up and getting a decent job, not starting right on the bottom rung. So I went to Heriot-Watt in Edinburgh and did the master's program there. Both my parents are British, so that was part of the reason for choosing Edinburgh. Mom's from Edinburgh, and we spent a fair bit of time in Scotland growing up. And then the distilling side of things sort of interests me, but also the fact that it's a Master's of Science, that it kept the doors open for potential academia or whatever, given that I was at a clinical and research lab before, being fairly closely tied to academia in that science position I was in. I like the idea that kind of kept that avenue open. But yeah,
Nice.
after got hired right away as the head brewer at Bridge in North Bend, which was awesome, a great, amazing learning experience. Maybe foolish of them to hire a history to go to school, but it was incredible for me. And I grew up on the North Shore in Vancouver too, so it was a 10-minute drive from where my parents were. And, great spot to land after Edinburgh.
Were you there like at the original their first location, like
for
a super small,
like a hot second. Yeah, I think I
thing?
came on board. It was like,
yeah, okay.
I was trying to think of this a couple minutes ago before we started. How long it was? I want to say it was like a month and a half, 2 months. So I was part of the move to the new spot, and then we got a bunch of new tanks and everything as we got to the new spot. And yeah, I was there for about 2 years. We were in the process of commissioning or kind of pulling the trigger on a bigger brew house because they were on a little 10 barrel system DMU when I left, and we were still doing like 4 turns a day on that when I left. But there was a light at the end of the tunnel, but I left before that light came. But it was, I mean, as I say, a really great learning experience, and made some lifelong friends with guys that have gone on to other brewing positions and or different areas of the craft beer world beyond that too.
Sweet.
With your time in Edinburgh as well, did that influence your preference in beers at all?
I mean, I don't love cask beer. if that's, which is, maybe I drank too much of it when I was there, but actually no, I like the traditional cask beer you can find there. I don't love the North American interpretation of a lot of cask beer. Yeah, and like when I was there, it was kind of it was the craft beer boom as well. You know, everything was new and exciting, and it wasn't just just cask beer. I worked briefly for Stewart Brewing in Edinburgh while I was there too. I kind of helped do some research into a barrel aged beer project that they were having, or they were starting up. And a lot of cool, fun, hop forward things that I hadn't experienced. Some great kind of more modern Scottish breweries. And that definitely influenced my beer preferences at the time anyway. And when I came back to Canada, the sort of things. But it wasn't sort of your conventional British beers that it was more the kind of modern Scottish English beers that I was excited about.
Right.
You weren't trying to change your base malt to Maris Otter or Golden Promise as soon as you got back.
No. I mean, I think more recently I've got more of an appreciation of that sort of thing. But at that time, I graduated in 2014. You know, hops were king. Hops still are king, but new exciting tropical flavors that I hadn't experienced, and then also having access to other European beers as well too, and learning about goods and lambic and stuff that weren't really on my radar before I went to school. So
nice. So you were at Bridge for a few years.
It was 2 years.
And then,
I think. Yeah, I'm just shy of 2 years.
2 years. Okay. Yeah. And then after that, you moved back out east, or what made you move all the way to the other side of the country? So
my wife is actually from Halifax or Dartmouth, just across the water from Halifax originally. So it had always sort of been the long-term plan to move to this part of the world. Even when I was at Harriet Watt, my master's project was actually developing a business plan for a Halifax-based brewery. That was always the plan. I mean, I love Vancouver. Vancouver's where I grew up, but kind of knew that a house and a family and stuff in Vancouver on a brewer salary really probably wouldn't be the most sustainable thing. I mean, we looked at it to try to make the numbers work, but it made a lot more sense with my wife's family being out here. So yeah, that was always sort of part of the plan. Unbeknownst to me, at the same time as I was working on a business plan while I was at school, my now business partner, who's an accountant, was working on a business plan for a Halifax-based brewery here, and he lives here and has done for a number of years. He reached out to a good family friend of his, who was a guy who I went to brewing school with, who's from Halifax, a guy called Ali Hossein. And at the time, Ali had been brewing I think he was still in the UK brewing and was happy where he was. He's since landed at Bellwoods. I think he's the head brewer there, or one of the high ups at Bellwoods. But yeah, Ali was happy where he was, but he knew that my goal was to end up in Halifax. So when he introduced myself and Mark and Mark's wife Kelly, and Mark's business plan, him being an accountant, didn't really touch on the beer as much as it did the financials, versus my business plan as a brewer completely neglected all the financials and just focused on the beer. So it was a good kind of mash our business plans together.
Yeah. It's a great match for a brewer as an
Yeah,
accountant.
exactly. I can kind of
Yeah.
I can misbehave and spend all the money on hops and stuff, and he has to figure out how to we can make money off of it. So he
Yeah.
hates me sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another hazy IPA that yields like only 60%.
Yeah.
But hey, when it's that though, at least it'll sell really quickly. It's when I do more obscure things. When the funky stuff doesn't sell so much.
Yeah. Cool.
Speaking of which, you've done quite a few mixed firm beers, and I think I was just looking back in 2018, was it, for the CBAs? You guys would have been like a year old. You did 4 different collaborations, and all of them were mixed firm.
Because you could in 2018. People would buy it then. We've done lots of mixed firm. I mean, we're doing a lot less of it now, and we're being a lot more precise with, or putting a lot more thought into what we do for mixed firm stuff. We still do have a number of barrels that are filled with spawn beer and lab brewing cultures. Some of which is probably past its best by date, has been in barrel too long, but sort of put a little bit of a moratorium on that sort of stuff, just because there's no real market for it anymore. But in 2018 it was great fun, and made some really good friends that do mixed firm type beer. We did that year, and then the next CBAs that were in Halifax, which was only, what was it, 2 years or 3 years ago? I can't remember. Time means nothing since COVID, but there's been another CBAs out here. We've done another MegaDregs, and that's still in barrels. And MegaDregs, for those that don't know, we invited anybody that we knew who might be coming to town for the CBAs, if they did mix firm beer, to bring a bottle of what they make, and we'll drink it all together, and then save the dregs in the bottles, and instead of pitching an actual culture, we add the dregs and let the yeast battle it out.
There you go.
There was
yeast from all over the country.
Exactly. And
cool.
Some stuff was spawn, and a lot of other lab grown stuff.
Kind of built off of the was it the Mud King blend that Bootleg Biology had.
Exactly. And I think it had been done a couple times at Carnival Britannomyces as well. And I got the idea originally from Kevin Freer at Block 3, and I think he had done that at Carnival Britannomyces, poached it from him. And he's a great mix firm brewer, although I think he's dialed back the mix firm as well too. But he's been a good sounding board and inspiration for mixed firm stuff in Canada. He's a great guy.
Yeah, we should have him on. Actually, that's good.
Idea. He'll talk your ear off, and you'll have nothing but bad things to say about me. But don't believe anything he says.
Perfect.
Fortunately, Jeremy sent out a whole bunch of beer for us to try on the show. Whoa. Unfortunately, the one that both Darren and I did not make the trip for us was the is it 2024 Spawn release?
What year is it now? 20. I mean, we just released it, but
I imagine 25.
The latest edition.
Yeah, that's our first spontaneous release. We've got the cool ship, and it was a mix of 4 years of fermentation and various different barrels. And I'm pleased with how it turned out. I'm sad you guys couldn't try it. And I have a little bit more in the pipeline, and I'll have to fire up the cool ship again to this spring and fill some more barrels.
And then how are you blending those 4 years? Like, what are you trying to target out of each of them?
I mean, a decent rounded flavor profile. You want some decent acidity, a bit of freshness, a bit of hop zing to it. We go fairly hard on the H hops in them. There's a decent level of bitterness in the beer, but I found some of the barrels just they definitely needed more acid. So I had other barrels that were way too much acid, so I tried to find that middle point. And I've got another blend that I've actually just put it into like 12 50-liter kegs that I've hidden behind fermenters right now, that I'm like almost happy with, but it needs a little something to make it sing. So I'm looking for some local fruit, but I probably have to wait for when it's not sitting in somebody's freezer. I'd prefer to have it fresh.
Fresh.
We've done a lot of carbonic maceration of whole local fruit here too. So ideally, I'll do something like that for this other blend. But trying to find a nice kind of middle ground in the flavor profile.
What's one of the most, I don't know, like unique fruits that you've used recently, or not even recently in the 8 years?
I mean, we've done a bunch of grapes. We've done a ton of pomace. There's a number of wineries here that are quite happy to give their pomace away.
There we go. All right, little hiccup there, but we were talking about most unique fruits. You said local grapes.
I feel like in terms of whole fruit, which is what I like to use when we're doing like mixed from stuff. Like we use puree we've got like a faster throughput sour, so I feel like that doesn't count as much for those. I mean, there's only so much that can grow in this part of the world as well too. So it's been grapes. It's been we've used quite a bit of blueberries as well, and done some carbonic maceration on blueberries. Really like that. Cherry as well too. There's some cherry growers out here.
And then, are you using pits as well in that?
Yeah, I have. So, and we have done some beers that were without pits, but I prefer with the pits. And I did one years ago that was I think with pits and without pits, as well as some dried cherry as well. And you get kind of more of a jammy kind of thing from the dried cherry. So kind of a range of cherry flavors. Damson plums was another one that we got locally, little smaller plums, and again use those with the pits as well. You get kind of that a little bit of that marzipan sort of thing that you get from cherry pit as well too.
Nice.
I really like that. The damson plums. Should try to get my hands on some of those again.
And then are you with those kind of mixed from beers? Are you targeting like lambic rates of fruiting?
Usually for the mixed firm stuff, lambic or higher sometimes too. We've gone pretty ridiculous on that. A few of them we've gone really intense. A couple of the blueberry ones have been like pretty much 50. Actually, and a couple of cherry ones as well too have been like 50% cherry going on. But for the most part, when we do the mixed firm with whole fruit, we'll have the beer pretty much finished out. And often aged a decent amount of time in barrel and then transferred onto the whole fruit, and potentially doing the carbonic maceration of the fruit before we transfer the beer onto it, and then let it rest for usually 12 weeks or so before sending it to package and bottle condition, keg condition from there.
Nice.
Sweet.
Do you find with your carbonic maceration that's breaking up the fruit enough, like completely? Are you?
It's not. It's not completely breaking it up, but we usually, I guess, a couple times we've stomped on stuff. We stomped on blueberries, and we did press some of the grapes as well. But more often than not, we just let it break down further once the beer's on top of it.
Sweet.
Nice.
Yeah.
So no PEI potatoes yet.
One day we'll do a Spudweiser or something.
Yeah,
a Spud Light. Yeah, actually, you know what? A pal of mine, Spencer at Lone Oak Brewing, he did a collab with one of the Newfoundland brewers. I can't remember which one it was, and it was. He had some good name for it. It wasn't Spudweiser though. I felt like that was right there, but they did put some. Yeah, they did put some potatoes in it.
There we go. I know what the collab we're doing when we go out there.
Yeah. Go by is it the McCain's potato flour mill over there?
McCain's and what's the other one? There's some big players out here.
Yeah.
Right.
So with moving from Vancouver to Nova Scotia, did you have to adjust kind of your thoughts of beer? Like where was the beer scene at when you moved in 2016?
So there was a bit of an adjustment. I mean, I found that Vancouver was really was a hub for where things were happening. A lot of current trends and people really pushing the envelope and stuff. And I found coming to Halifax, it kind of felt like what Vancouver was, 3 or 4 years prior. So
Right.
I think when we hit the ground, it was in the earlier days of hazies being a thing. I think before I left Bridge, I think it was one of the first hazies in Vancouver that I did there. But
Yeah.
opening up Two Crows 10 months later, whatever, and there weren't any hazies out here yet. Whereas Vancouver was already like, if you weren't doing a hazy, then what are you doing, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So we opened up, we started out the gate with a hazy, and I found it was fairly rooted in like traditional British beer out here. Most places will have a blonde, a brown, a stout, and a red kind of thing.
I mean that Propeller ESB was distributed nationwide.
Yeah, and I mean a great beer, and I feel like it's in the past like year or so, people are like, oh yeah, hang on, we've kind of forgot about that again. We got away from that for a little bit. But yeah, I found when I came out here, it was pretty old school and British influenced, and not a lot of some people obviously looking at the beer trends, but I found that kind of worked in Two Crows' favor, that we were kind of paying attention to the bigger beer trends, and trying not to be chasing trends, but trying to be as current as possible. And a lot of the beer nerds here were pretty excited by that when we opened up.
Yeah,
Sweet.
That's great. And so, do you still feel now, has like Halifax, the rest of the beer scene around you guys, like,
Yeah, how has it changed? Like, what's the modern scene like? And yeah,
I mean, I feel like I don't know. Because I'm probably a little bit out of touch from the broader beer scene now that I've got my blinders on and I'm out here. I feel like other beer scenes might have kind of matured a little bit. I mean, there is a broader appreciation of lagers kind of across Canada, but I feel like maybe we're not quite at the stage that Vancouver is here. Like people are appreciating it, but still, when we do a hazy or a new something with way too many hops in it, then that sells really
Right.
well. And the other stuff that you let lager for 4 months and Krausen and everything doesn't fall flat, but it's I feel like in other markets maybe people will get more jazzed about it, but grass is always greener too. Oh, I'm doing this really cool thing, please.
Yeah.
But no, I think it definitely is more mature, and people are aware of what they're drinking, and it's not quite so rooted in British beer history anymore. People aren't really going for that quite as much as they had been, but it's changed.
Sweet.
With that, Two Crows has been there 8 years now. How's it changed? Like the beers you guys make, you started with a lot of mixed ferm. You kind of alluded to, you've slowed down a bit on that. Moving to lagers, and like with those lagers, like your krausening, spunding, is that kind of the focus right now?
I mean, it's. I think that's more where my passion lies now, but maybe not the broader focus of Two Crows. I mean, it's something we take a lot of pride in, but when we opened up, it was the heyday of craft beer, and if you wanted to do mixed ferm, you could do mixed ferm. If you wanted to do whatever, it was pretty wide open. You could make whatever, and people would be really excited for it, and they'd be lining up for it before you open. And things have changed. The market has shifted all over the place. More in the past couple of years, but probably since COVID anyway, we're trying to be a lot more precise with what we make. People have the polish, the shine is kind of worn off a little bit, and craft beer isn't quite as cool, and it's not a hobby or anything to just drink beer for people anymore. So we're trying to give people what they want, and people aren't going to be spending half their paycheck on beer anymore. So trying to be precise with things that we think will sell, and listening to the various bars and restaurants in terms of what they want to see. And there is a back and forth conversation of like, we think this cool lager style will do well for you, and that is sort of where things are going. So yeah, we'll brew
Yeah.
that, and we still are brewing things that we're very proud of and we want to do, but we're not kind of throwing everything at the wall and
Yeah.
expecting it to stick.
Yeah. I think even still, like, I mean, we're talking about like krausening lagers and stuff like that, and so whereas maybe 8 years ago we would have said, yeah, that's our lager, it's okay. Like I know as brewers maybe less excited about those products and more excited about, what's trendy, what's the new hazy hoppy, have you heard of El Dorado, like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And now it's kind of shifted. I know a lot of brewers are like, yeah, new hop, whatever. Like, but
Yeah.
have you
We
tried
got to
this,
get
like
Yeah.
Waddock, like this stuff like
brewers
that, right?
get
Yeah.
bored easily, and you got to find something to keep it exciting for you. And
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, if you're gonna make a beer, you want to do it the best that you can too. So that's
Yeah.
sort of it doesn't take that much more time and effort for us to be krausening it, and certainly like the spunding. I like the texture of the
Yeah.
bubbles and everything from that, but also like it's saving CO2, so
Yeah.
it's a win-win. But we're funding everything,
Yeah.
and then krausen all of our loggers. Yeah, I mean, I also
It's the part where like the passionate brewer and the accountant meet.
we can
Symbiote.
actually I have this idea and it's going to save us money.
Yeah.
Versus I have this idea and you're going to hate it.
Yeah.
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 Sweet.
Yeah. So I mean, trying to if you're going to brew even a light lager, like our AC light lager, we want to take pride in it. We want to do it right and not just crank it out as quickly as we can. Like it is a beer that's designed to be a bit of a mortgage paying beer, but we still want to take pride in it. We still want to, krausen it and spun it natural carb. And that's also part of why we launched AC with 100% Atlantic Canadian grown ingredients too. That like, it felt like the market, we could and should do a light lager for that sort of demographic, but we wanted to do it our way. We didn't want to just like, do it with rice syrups or the cheapest commodity malt we could find. And before doing it, I did the cost breakdown of what will it cost, the cheapest I can make it, or the cheapest plus half rice or half corn,
Yeah.
the cheapest hop extract or whatever, and then using all local. And the price difference, it was something like 3.5 cents per liter or something. Like it wasn't big. And
Yeah.
and then you can feel good that you're supporting local economy. You can use that as a marketing tool to say, hey, this is all local. And I also found too, like
I was just gonna say you got the little crest here. The
yeah.
100%
So we've started
Atlantic
putting
Canadian.
that on we've started putting that on all the beers that we make that have 100% Atlantic Canadian grown ingredients. And it makes it so it's a talking point. And yeah, all sort of even before COVID, but COVID really hammered it home that all of us brewers are saying, please support us. Times are desperate. We need your help. Support the local little guy. Support
Yeah.
us. We're local. We're right here. And then if we're sending our money for malt to some multinational, we're not really practicing what we preach. We're begging for the local support and not supporting the local growers and stuff. Beer is fundamentally an agricultural product. If you can support your own local agriculture while you're making it, I think that's something we can and should do.
Yeah,
For sure.
Yeah, for sure.
And with that, we should probably get into this beer.
There you go.
Highlight today, which I think you got the Sal there.
Sorry, I opened up the Sal. Yeah.
Yeah.
We've got, which is in this same vein, but yeah, this was the collaboration you did with Yaya's Pizza. So kind of building off of working with restaurants and designing a beer for something that's going to go with their food.
Yeah. So we actually just over a year ago we opened a second location that's for anybody who's been to our brewery, it's a brewery and we have a tap room that's attached to it, but you're basically in a working brewery. It's a big industrial space and a little tap room that's beside it. but we want to have another spot that was more of an intimate kind of cafe type vibe, a place where people would come for food and bring their family and stuff too. So we've teamed up with It's Pizza, and they sort of run the kitchen in this spot, and we do the beer, and it's been a really great partnership. It's in a different neighborhood of Halifax that doesn't have a ton of that sort of thing. But yeah, we want to sort of have a house beer that you can only really get at that tap room, and kind of made sense to do an Italian Pilsner to go with pizza.
There you
seems
go.
like the perfect pair. And myself and one of the main guys from EIS did a tasting of a bunch of different Italian Pilsners and trying to figure out what flavor profile we're wanting, how much bite from the hops and how much aroma and stuff, and we kind of decided where we want to go with that. And I, at the same time, I've been chatting with a hop grower on PEI that we've used a bit of his hops before, but he was telling me about a new crop of his Styrian Golden that he had, and I got a sample of it, and it smelled amazing, and it was sort of perfect for this beer. We made the choice to use the local hops as well as the local malt, not because it was the local thing, not because we wanted to have that badge, but it was the right hop and the right malt for it. Yeah. I do. I mean, I'm part of Shoreline Malting too, so I'm biased. But I do think there's something to be said about using malt fresh as well too. That hasn't been sitting in a sea can for months or years or whatever. So I find that some of that fresh malt character does carry through to the finished product. The malt in this one isn't actually from Shoreline Malting. It's from another PEI maltster.
So removing the bias.
Yeah, exactly. I use tons of this other maltster on PEI called Island Malt House, and it's all floor malted with those guys. Really great family run thing. I mean, it's like a father and son. These Dutch guys. And they're great to work with. Really good quality stuff, and they've got a good range of different malts, and you just get a little bit more of a malty oomph and rounded kind of. Yeah, it's floor malt, so you get more of that floor malt kind of characteristic from those
more
guys.
variance between each kernel, and
yeah, for sure. A couple stones in there occasionally, and
just enough to keep the mill a little bit scared.
Yeah. Keeps us on our toes when we're putting it through. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
So with your Italian Pilsner, what's kind of your goal? Like, I guess for those who don't know, what is an Italian Pilsner?
That's always a moving target, I think, too.
Italian Pilsner. Yeah. I guess for those who don't know, Italian Pilsner is kind of like a newer beer style in the history of beer styles, but an Italian interpretation of a German Pilsner using a more refined look is what the Italians would say.
I think the chief characteristic is like it's dry hopped, definitely dry hopped, whereas German Pilsner is not, and then maybe like a more herbally hop. I don't know. That would be my interpretation.
Yeah, and it also it seemed to depend what rabbit hole you went down for me anyway when I was researching it. But the rabbit hole that I liked the most, that resonated with me the most, it was sort of saying that you don't want the dry hops to be punching you in the face. It's very restrained, very subtle, and the water chemistry too throughout, your pH throughout really matters. So we were adjusting it like in the boil and post boil, and paying attention to it in the fermenter as well, and when to dry hop, the timing of your dry hop. We dry hop with the Spund on it, or with the Krausen. And I find that kind of locked in the aroma a little bit too. But fundamentally it is kind of a German Pils with a little bit of a dry hop.
Nice.
Slightly, a little bit herbal, a little bit citrusy, and
Yeah, what are you looking for like pH? Like you said, you're looking for something just kind of like keeping it nice and low, so it's keeping it nice and crisp. Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah, but not too low. Like we our hazies, we acidulate before it goes into fermenter more significantly. But this is above that. I've got it written down what the pH was, but I can't remember.
Sorry. We should next time just be like, okay, bring the brew sheets for the last 4 brews of these. We're essentially doing an audit.
I'll consider the crowd. I had the brew sheet pulled up, ready to answer all those questions too. I had it open, but I'll send it to you later.
Yeah.
No, it's nice.
It's
It's got like a little rustic like note to it, but it's which is nice, and it's like very full flavored, and yeah, like Aslan I think said, like orangey, orange zesty, without it being like, it's not like IPA orange zest, it's just like a little
a little
touch of
sweet
that,
something. Yeah.
yeah.
If only you could be eating a pizza while you're drinking it.
Little basil, fresh malt.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Right.
fermentation wise, like what's your yeast preference? What's where are you starting at?
In particular?
Yeah.
This was ISAR from Escarpment Labs, which is it's usually our go-to lager strain. Although we juggle a lot of yeast strains. Like we propagate everything in-house, which is also part of why I feel okay saying that it's all Atlantic Canadian grown ingredients. I mean, much like the barley varieties didn't come from
Sure.
PEI originally. They're brought in and grown out on PEI. The yeast, we bring in a few cells of it and then we grow it out in Halifax. So there's been a few people when we say it's all Atlantic Canadian grown ingredients. I'm like, well, what about the yeast? Like, yeah, we grew it here. Remember, that's a side tangent. Maybe I'm touchy about that. Oh boy. I hit my own nerve there.
Yeah, totally.
It's a safe space here.
So ISAR is kind of the go-to for a lot of our clean lager ferments. This was fermented a little bit warmer than I usually like with ISAR, because again, that seemed to be the thing for the Italian
Just push a
Pilsners.
little bit more ester and
just a tiny bit though. I think I usually knock out at like 8.5 and ferment at like 9 and creep it up to 9.5 for most of my ISAR ferments. I think this was cast out at like 9.5 and then brought it up to 10.5 and pushed 11 kind of thing, and then warmer for getting through the BDK. ISAR it's a workhorse. I mean, it's like 3470 or whatever too. It's a great clean, very clean neutral profile, and I like it a lot for this sort of thing.
Nice. Yeah, and then you're krausening with other lagers on the go. Are you trying to, like, that can be hard to juggle when you're trying to have krausen ready to go.
We do have a pilot system too, so occasionally if there's nothing in the pipeline that works, then we'll brew something for it. But usually we can peel off wort from something quite similar, and get it started, and then chuck it over once it's rocking and rolling. Yeah.
Nice.
And then the Sal was, I believe we lager that for about 12 weeks as well too. And we don't filter or fine anything and centrifuge or anything. It's all just time.
Sweet.
Just you find that that helps with like your head retention as well, and like
and some of the aroma and stuff too. I find even finding just strips out some more of the delicate aromas even in something that isn't dry hop. So I think we've put biofine in like 2 things in the history of Two Crows, and then like, nah, I'm good. We'll just wait it out.
Yeah.
It's such a change from when I started in the industry. It was like every beer had to be crystal clear, and let's put fish swim bladders in it and get it real clear. But
I find that sometimes now, if it's too clear, people just assume it's old.
It's
a weird. It's kind of like a weird 180 now.
Yeah.
It's supposed to look like that. It's supposed to look really clear.
Although, like I've developed a bit of a soft spot for the cold IPA and the like crystal clear things, and we've got a pale ale that is more of like a West Coast pale ale, but it basically is fermented like a cold pale ale, I guess. So I use ISAR in that and ferment it warmer, and it drops nice and clear after it's dry hop, and I don't know, going back to the roots,
nice and brilliant.
I know. I'm tired of hoppy beers that look like mud. Exactly.
The when you're using floor malted barley and you're using multiple different barley bases. Are you doing sieve tests between that? Are you handling your mash differently in order to adjust for extract?
This was my question. Thank you, Aslan. I was wondering if
Yeah.
you were doing a step mash at all for all these like floor malted beers.
We step mash a lot of things. We've got steam jackets on our mash tun, so we do step mash a lot of things. Although not every time we're using the floor malt. It's well modified and consistent kernel size and everything. I mean, it's all sized before they malt it. I think they probably get their farmers to sort and size it before they even get their hands on it. So it is pretty consistent.
Nice.
Yeah, we don't have to, like, we have the sieves and we do it periodically, and it's never really, we've kind of dialed it in where it's working for everything, and we're never really having to make any major adjustments.
Nice.
If we've got like we're doing rye or something that we see is really small, then we'll kind of eyeball tightening the gap, but that's usually only a couple bags of something. But yeah, for pretty much all the barley we're using, whether it's the floor malt from BEI, whether it's Shoreline or other bigger suppliers, we kind of have a sweet spot. The step matching we do is usually either to target good big foam, or it's for particular kind of flavor profile down the line that we're looking for, or fermentability or whatever. So a number of years ago I stumbled upon some thread somewhere, and I can't even remember where it was, and somebody had talked about a mash profile that they had got from somewhere, and they swore it gave you crazy big foam. And this was a couple of days before we were doing some one-off of something. I'm gonna try it. Let's give it a whirl. And we did it, and it does. But the mash profile makes no sense to me. It's like 3 minutes at 42 Celsius, and then step it up immediately to 51.5. It's all over the place, and like 10 minutes of this and 8 minutes of this one. It's all, and you're going through like 10 different steps. Even but the sack rest itself seems to be like 15 minutes or something. But blowing all over the place, and sure enough, it turned out to be a great beer at that. So we've done that for a few. We've kind of landed on this thing, and it has really nice pillowy foam on it. It's working great. Let's do it.
There you go.
Yeah, and I'm showing it to a bunch of people, and they're like, that doesn't make any sense. That doesn't. You're all over the place, but.
We'll have to post it here and post it on our social media. I'll get you to send it over so that I can subject my brewers to this crazy mash regime.
Yeah, have fun. It'll ruin your morning trying to go through all the steps. But
I'm trying to have my coffee here.
When you're doing your steps and you have a steam jacket, what are you doing to make sure you're not scorching the sides and getting the core like to a consistent temp, especially if you're trying to hold a step for 3 minutes?
Yeah. It's, I mean, there's a lot of like, we're averaging out the temperature here, but we've got the rakes as well, but like some days the rakes work perfectly and everything seems to step up evenly, and then some days it's not moving at all and you're doing exactly the same. The beer gods just aren't happy with you, and they don't want you to hit that temperature, and we'll kind of alternate between running the Vorloff and turning on the rakes, or having the Vorloff going while you're running the rakes, and underletting, and just you kind of battle with it a little bit. But usually once you're pretty happy with where it's sitting, then you call it and start the stopwatch. And it's not exact for sure.
Yeah. It's a combo mash slaughter tun. Like it's a mash slaughter tun, or do you have a proper mash tun?
No, it's a combo. Combo.
Yeah. We have the same thing in neighborhood, and like we just keep the Vorloff going, run the rakes, and then that seems to keep it pretty homogeneous, so that when it actually hits the temperature, you're pretty confident that it's at that temperature.
The bigger challenge is when we try to do decoction stuff. That's a real challenge. For a while, we've got a Czech pills that we do with that's triple decocted now, and we had been like opening up the knife valve into our pilot system, and then frantically stirring, and then running buckets up the brew house steps and dumping it in, and man, what a nightmare! And everybody's like sticky,
it's It's like a bad dream.
Yeah, it's horrible. Oh, it's the worst, but it made for a great beer. So yeah, everybody at the brewery hates me when we did that. But more recently, actually, we've started kind of doing a different way of doing it. So we'll only mill like a third of the beer, and then start it at the bottom and work its way through all the steps until it's boiling, and then we'll mash on top of that, and that brings the temperature back down, and then work our way through steps, and we'll do that 3 or 4 times, mashing in more to get the right, and doing the math ahead of time to figure out how much grain you need to chill down that boiling stuff to a proper mash temp and start the steps again. Yeah, so it's still a long day, but you're less burnt by the end of it.
So you'll do it like, if you're doing like a triple decoction, will you do like it in thirds, like 1, 2, and 3, or?
But it's not exact either. It's
Right.
yeah, just based on like if you had 2/3 of something boiling and then you add in 1/3, it's not going to bring you down low enough. So you're starting off with smaller portions. I think it's something like 15% of the grist, the overall grist is what you're starting with, and then you're going in with another 30% or something like that. I'd have to look up the math again, but yeah.
And then you're like, is it boiling in your mash Lauterton then?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Now I'm just asking questions for me.
Yeah, do it.
I always wanted to do a decoction. I'm like, oh, how am I going to do this? And,
yeah. I think we've got no way of easily moving the mash around.
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
We do it on a 2-vessel system, but in a really funny way of really high hydration mash with siphoning it off, basically.
Okay. Yeah. That's, I mean, you gotta.
That's the way I thought. Yeah, just like siphon it off to their kettle, boil it,
keep
and
it whirlpooling.
Yeah.
Push it back. Yeah. Which most of the time it works.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah.
Most of the time it works every time.
Yeah. We've only done it once where we did a double brew day, but I'm the person to take all the fault on the decoctions. So it's like, okay, I'll be here for both mashes. We'll make it work.
Yeah. Usually, I've got a really good lead brewer who does most of the actual brewing. Now I get to send emails and stuff like that. But when it's decoction day or something complicated like that, then I'll jump in and take the fall, send him home early when
when the mash is done.
Day.
Yeah. See ya. I'll watch it boil now.
Yeah. Exactly.
Sweet. I was going to ask maybe a bit more. We touched on it a bit about Shoreline Malting, but maybe you can talk more about kind of your role with them and kind of like the history of Shoreline and how you incorporate it into your beers.
Yeah. So Shoreline, I should probably know when exactly they started, but they started around 6-ish years ago, I believe. And it was started by a man called John Webster, and then Jensen Clark and another guy. John Webster is more of the business side of things, and then Jensen and Trent Casely is the other one. They're farmers. Trent owns the farm, and Jensen is sort of his farm helper. John was always the person I dealt with, and I was really impressed with them right from the get-go. It wasn't John wasn't coming knocking on the door at Two Crows saying, you have to use this because it's local, and pressuring me that way. It was sort of, he approached me and sort of said, this is who we are, this is what we're doing, and this is the full malt analysis on everything. These are the specs, and also if there's anything you see in here that you don't like, let me know. And we're wanting to learn as we go, and we're wanting to make the best possible stuff. And I got my hands on a few bags, and I was really, really impressed with the quality of it. In fact, we ended up doing a side-by-side of one of our lagers with, I think it was Byerman Barca Pills, and then our next batch was with the Shoreline stuff, and all of us preferred the Shoreline malt. It came across as like a high-quality German sort of style malt. And a couple of years into Shoreline, the two farming guys I think there'd been a couple of really bad crop years for potatoes, and that's sort of the main thing that you grow on PEI, and they were kind of looking to get out and focus on the farm. And John was looking for new partners to kind of help carry the burden a little bit of running the company. It's not something you can do solo. So he approached me as somebody who's, my brewing education had quite a bit of malting stuff in it. He knew I had a little bit of knowledge in terms of malting, and I had a good respect for the product and everything. And I was pretty interested in getting more involved in local agriculture, and really, feel quite strongly that this is a really great product, and I enjoy working with the various farmers and stuff too, and seeing exactly where the beer comes from, and it's been a good fit. So my role with Shoreline at the moment, we're actually working on a fairly significant expansion right now to at least double our capacity. So kind of helping with that. We've also done some work with Ag Canada out here too, doing some plot trials of heritage barley varieties and seeing what could work, what can actually be grown out here. But then we've got plans of micro malting it and seeing, of the things that we can grow here, what heritage varieties could tell a story, but also have a good flavor profile that can carry forward to a finished product. So yeah, do a little bit of work with Ag Canada in that regard. And then being kind of the beer guy on the team. And I
liaison
guess,
kind of thing.
Something like that. Yeah. Although I'm really not a sales guy at all. I'm like I'm the last person that should try to sell anything. But I can talk about it, but I don't want to be please buy this.
Are they similar varietals and that would be grown on like the prairies of Canada, like where most of our barley comes from? Or are they different because it's like a different climate?
Yeah, so it is quite a different climate. I mean, there are some varieties that work in both spots, but most of the big Canadian malting varieties and the ones that are kind of recommended by the Canadian Malting Technical Center are kind of grown or designed for growing on the prairies for a much drier environment. So we're kind of realizing that a lot of the barleys that'll work well for out here are more like the British varieties or some of the European varieties that can handle a lot more moisture, more resistance to fusarium and stuff like that, to disease resistance, and usually shorter as well, too, less prone to lodging because it can get kind of windy out here, windy and wet.
Cool.
So
I was just looking back, making fact checking. Should have done this before. But we had Tessa on one of our earlier brews, and we talked about her use of Shoreline Malting when she did their first foeder beer.
And I think she got some hops from Island Hop Farms as well too, and then a foeder from PEI as well too. Island Hop Farms. I mean, I said that we've got their hops in the Sal Italian Pilsner. He's a super interesting guy. His grandfather was a hop grower in Germany, and it's been his mission, like, since he was a young kid, to be a hop grower. But he, I think, realized from quite a young age that you can't just throw a couple rhizomes in the ground and then be a proper grower. So he knew it was going to take some serious capital. So he went into the military so that he could get into medical school, so that he could become a physician, so he could raise capital for a hop farm. So he's an orthopedic surgeon, flies up to NWT for several weeks at a time, and then comes back to PEI and puts it all in this hop farm. And he's doing it's mostly European varieties. He's super technical, very detail oriented, very data driven as well too. He's published tons of articles in like the American Society of Brewing Chemists and stuff too, in all his free time. Really intelligent guy, and very particular about the quality too. Like, I know he's released some of his hops, but he's also just turfed a ton of it because it hasn't quite met his quality parameters yet. But he's going to be ramping up, and I think he's going to be like the second or maybe third largest hop grower in Canada once he's properly up and going, and mostly these noble varieties. Cool. Really interesting guy. Yeah, good. He would be a good guy to chat to
Add to the
much,
list.
much more articulate than I am too. So
Well, I like hearing when the Canadian growers are putting in European varieties too.
yeah,
I mean, it's been harder for Europeans to even grow a lot of those varieties, like in Germany and Czech Republic. We've had pretty low numbers in the last few years of like losses of acreage just due
yeah,
to droughts and disease outbreaks. So it's nice to see that like maybe that's a good avenue for Canadian growers to put in the ground. It's always hard for us to compete with like the Washington State and Oregon State growers, right? Like they have
yeah,
such a big industry, so that
yeah.
totally makes sense to me to put some of that stuff in the ground for sure.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Although he also does have a few tricks up his sleeve too. I think he's got a few juice bomb things in the works. I don't know. Yeah,
Smuggled some
think,
rhizomes out of the ground.
no, yeah, some proprietary things
Sweet.
that he's working on too. I think so. Yeah, yeah, good. He's a good guy, Josh Mayich.
All right.
Yeah. Sweet. So overall, you've been in the Canadian brewing industry for a while, coast to coast, over a decade. What excites you about the Canadian brewing industry now?
Oh, good question. I mean, I do like to see the rise of loggers. Loggers excite me right now. But and maybe it is just a temporary blip because of what's going on politically. But the bit of a swell of supporting Canadian. It's a True History just announced a Canadian Pilsner project where they're going to be brewing something with all Canadian ingredients and inviting others to brew that same recipe.
Yeah.
Maybe it is just a momentary blip, but that gets me excited. Partly because I'm part of Shoreline, but using local ingredients is something that we like to champion at Shoreline or at Two Crows beyond just using the local barley. I also I think there's a lot more work to do, but I do like to see that a lot more people that I talk to in the brewing scene seem aware of making beer more accessible to not just dudes that look like us with the beers and the beer belly and stuff like that. Trying to make our tap rooms a safe space, a welcoming space for everybody, as long as you're not a jerk. I like that's been at least a small part of the conversation over the past couple of years, and that's something that excites me and something that I feel quite passionately about. We've worked a decent amount with Ren Navarro from Beer Diversity, and that's something that they champion a lot, and we've kind of revisited how we go about hiring and how we go about presenting ourselves. We've got our value statement to sort of say this is who we are, and we won't tolerate things that are outside of this. And I'm excited and happy to see that that's a thing among some people anyway.
Yeah,
nice.
Yeah, I think it's something we all have to continue to check in on and make sure we are still doing it, because it can be easy to make it kind of seem like lip service and stuff, and make sure that we're able to actually not just do it once a year when there's a spotlight on it, or how does it become a sustainable part of our business to make sure that we are community spaces.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, and I mean, I get it. We get our blinders on, and we're so focused on how are we going to Crows in this next thing, or what's a triple decoction left on our brew, and you kind of forget that it's just beer. Yeah. there's so much more important things, and if we can be a voice for other good things while people are talking about the beer, or if we can be a safe space or a good meeting spot for all folks, then that makes it so much more than beer. So we can use our platform or
if we can bring other people into how cool beer is, right? That it maybe aren't exposed to that. That's cool too, right? Just inviting them into the wonder and the mystery that is.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. For anyone that's new to the craft beer or beer scene, are just starting in the industry, what advice do you have for them? Any wisdom or inspiration you can offer?
I think if you're just starting out in the craft beer scene, look out for yourself. Like watch your back. Lift with your knees. Know your worth. Like there's a lot of bad work environments and bad companies and stuff like that. It can be a tough job, and if you've got people that aren't respecting your hard work, then know that you can and should go elsewhere. Also watch the. I mean, I'm a dad, so I think this is all kind of coming out here. But like, watch your alcohol consumption too. Like it can be tough when you're surrounded by beer every day, and just be careful, because I've seen with too many people that it becomes too much a part of their life, and if you're drinking heavily every day, it's not good for you. So just be careful. Watch out for yourself. Have fun though, and try to find, even if you're working at a place where you're having to hammer out the exact same lager every day or IPA every day, find a way to try to make it the best possible batch ever, and see if there's small little tweaks that you can do. And even if 99% of the people drinking the final product don't notice it, you can notice it, or that 1% will notice it, and keep striving for making a better and better beer. Keep pushing yourself.
Nice.
But I love to always say with lagers, it's like the beer I think about all the time, so nobody else has to.
Yeah. I like that.
Yeah. Or what did Tessa say? That it's beer that's for talking over, not about.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Oh, I like that a lot. That's great.
Start the t-shirts now as
there
we
go. Yeah. I feel like I'm actually wearing Tessa's t-shirt right now. That foam is beer too.
There you go.
Yeah, if it's the Land and Sea t-shirt underneath here.
There you go.
Shout out.
Yeah. The true coast to coast moment there.
Yeah. I mean, it would bound to be some sort of beer t-shirt underneath here. That's basically all I have in my wardrobe, but yeah.
So when you're not at the brewery, how do you spend your time?
I've got two young daughters, so they take up a lot of my time. But they're awesome. They're my world. They're great. One daughter's just about 6, and the other is 7.5. So yeah, they're busy. Other than that, got a dog that I go for a lot of hikes with and stuff. I'm also a hobby beekeeper. So I've got a couple hives in my backyard here, and then a couple hives that are at the farm of the individual who takes our spent grain. So yeah, I really enjoy beekeeping and gardening and stuff like that, and camping, cross country skiing.
So when's the Two Crows beer to mill?
I get like anywhere from like 60 to 90 pounds of honey per hive per year, but which is a lot, way more honey than I can consume, considering we go through like a jar a year. But that's not really enough to do anything with when you're brewing 24 heads at a time, right? But I don't want to ruin a hobby by turning it into a business, because I've done that, so I don't want to.
Already done it once.
Yeah. So I don't want to start selling jars at the farmers market. But last year, my daughters and I sold honey just to friends and family and neighbors, and we used that money to donate it to the Elizabeth Fry Society out here. So we were able to raise $1,200 for that, just by selling the honey and not turning it into a business. So good to. I enjoy the process of beekeeping, but not so much the eating the honey or anything. So if we can, again, use the thing I enjoy as a platform for something better, then makes me happy.
Nice.
Cool.
Well, if people want to find your beer, where can they find it? I don't know if you're shipping out that far to us in BCA. We've got some way back in the past, I don't remember, but
we were sending some out pre-COVID. We were getting it out to the specialty stores. As of like September-ish of last year, we're with a craft beer importers now, and so they're, I think, more represented in Alberta, but I think we are planning on, or they are planning on getting some into BC eventually. So if and when it gets out there, it'll be at the more specialty stores, obviously. I remember. I think it was. What's the one in Esplanade, North Van? They were like huge for whatever reason. Whenever there was stuff coming in, they were like getting all of it. They were really good supporters of us. Yeah, and yeah, I mean, we try to get to a few festivals when we can too. I'll be at Barrel Fest in Edmonton next September as well, which that was another thing actually I wanted to mention for people starting out in the industry. If you can meet up with or surround yourself with people that are doing things that excite you, or viewing beer the same way you do, or doing similar styles to you, it really is inspiring. Going to Barrel Fest the past couple of years has just, I went into that festival, my head down thinking barrel-aged beer is dead, nobody wants mixed firm, whatever, and then getting there and seeing the Blind Enthusiasm folks and the beers that they're making and tasting, and like, this stuff is incredible. You're all excited about it. Okay, I'm going to take that excitement back to Halifax and throw it into what I'm doing again, and that rejuvenated me for sure. So yeah, Alberta has some of our beer. All that to say, we're working on getting some to Winnipeg as well, or to Manitoba as well. And then we have a little bit of representation in the Atlantic provinces, but to get the best selection, you got to come say hi to me out here.
Sounds good. Just a quick trip to Halifax.
Yeah, exactly. You can get some seat sales from Vancouver.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I do need to get out.
I think I saw seat sales for $5.50 not too long ago.
I looked up. There was a sale because my folks are still in Vancouver and my sister as well too. So I look it up periodically, and there was one for like $3.50 a couple weeks ago. But they're always not the best flights for if you're traveling with children like I do. It's like leaving at 3 a.m. and you can get some good sales. So
keep your eyes open.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, we'll keep people up to date if the beer starts flowing into BC. But otherwise, if you're out in Halifax, go to the source. And if we have any Halifax or Atlantic province listeners that are just like listening to the show because you're on it, then hello. And this podcast is mostly focused on BC brewers. We've had the Alberta and Ontario brewers as well, and we're just looking to keep going. I don't know. We're talking about the States next. Who knows? We're conquering the world, right, Aslan? So but we're just talking to people that
one casual handshake at a time.
Yeah.
Sliding in those DMs.
Yeah. I mean, it's just people that Aslan and I want to talk to, so that keeps us interested, and hopefully that keeps the guest list interesting too. So, keep listening, and if you want to support the show, you can follow us on Instagram, where we post all our reels and anything about the show. And if you want to support Aslan and I, you can buy our beer that we make. There's Main Street Brewing beer and Neighborhood Brewing beer and Yellow Dog Brewing beer all over the place in this wonderful province of BC.
It's all really good too. I've had it all.
There you go.
Excellent beer.
Right. Anything else we want to add, Aslan?
No, I think that's it. Jeremy, thank you so much for staying up late with us.
Yeah.
No worries.
Well,
I appreciate it. Sorry for the technical difficulties there too. I hope that didn't mess things up too much.
No, it's all good.
Curveballs keeps us on toes. All right.
Well, until next time, guys. Cheers.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Thanks very much.